Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Super excited to be here with you on an amazing Father's Day. Had a blast with my kids this morning. And my wife says, "What do you want to do today?" And I said, "I just want to do my live stream." I mean, we had all the kid time in the morning, but do the live stream and then just kind of hang out and relax. We don't have to go out and do a bunch of stuff. I'm tired. But I hope you guys had a fantastic week. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today was one of the things that I cover a lot in my course. And it's amazing how few people do it. Dividend Dave has a great opening to the live stream. Now we don't have to start over. And so that's wonderful. Thank you, Dave, for being on time. Appreciate that. And not having to start the series or start the live stream over. But you would be shocked at how many people don't shop their quotes. You guys, this is one of the biggest mistakes made in real estate investing. It's far worse than what most people will admit to. It's far worse than what most buyers will talk about. Listen, I found my great contractors by, quite frankly, kissing plenty of frogs first. They gave a number and they didn't show up on time. Their quality of work wasn't that great, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is finding value is the most important thing when really creating longevity in this landlording thing. You got to be flexible. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and you got to be willing to kind of roll with the punches, and bad things are going to happen and stuff's going to come up. Way it goes. But what you have to understand is as you start your real estate journey, big mistakes in the beginning can completely derail your journey for years, if not forever. It doesn't do it financially forever, but it does it for years financially. It's a mindset thing where you can get absolutely destroyed in the beginning. But the number of people where they're just like, oh yeah, so I got a quote on the floors and those are going to be $9,000. Kind of like what Dividend Dave talks about right here. You know, quoted at 4,400 over the last quote from another at 9,700. So he got somebody to quote him out floors at basically $14,000 for one of his houses. Now he's happy at $9,700. Now, Dividend Dave took the course. Dividend Dave took the boot camp. Dividend Dave went through all of those pieces and parts of the puzzle to understand I got to shop around. He's going to get a third quote too and see if he can even beat that 9,700. But guys, a great contractor, yes, many of them are the great contractors. Many of them are always busy, and then they find their group of people and then they constantly service them. Okay. The challenge becomes is that you're talking about the same exact job with the same exact quality of product being quoted for LVP, luxury vinyl plank, and you're talking about a 50% increase in price. Guys, a 50% increase in price. Now imagine if that goes through the project. Flooring was 50% more. The kitchen was 50% more. The bathrooms were 50% more. And then all of a sudden you wind up at, oh my gosh, my burr doesn't, I'm going to lose money on my burr. Or this doesn't sustain itself. The market rents are less than what my monthly mortgage is going to be now that I've done these projects. My refi out, I'm going to leave a bunch of money behind in this deal, and I'm not going to see being able to do the next deal for a year, maybe 2, maybe 3. These are the tiny things that are extremely critical to success that you must master. The first quote was 9,700. The second was at 4,400. See, $9,700, half price, more than half price, about 60% off is what Dividend Dave's going to get because he shopped around for multiple quotes. Now at 4,400, I'm a little bit nervous. You know, I'm a little bit nervous. I would want to see the product delivered. You know, I would probably want to order the product and talk to them about labor and what that looks like. But I can tell you, I have guys all the time. They're like, well, I would love to earn your business. What would that take? And I was like, how much of square foot are you for LVP install? Well, we're 4 to 4.25. No, not even close. They're like, why? What do you pay? I said, I pay $175 a foot. They're like, yeah, what was that, 15 years ago? I said, nope, I can show you an invoice where I just paid $175 a foot. And why is that? Because that's a 3-person crew that shows up and can bang out about 800 to 1,000 feet before they go home. So they look at the value of the day and they say, hey, a job that size, we can get that thing done in a day. We'll make $600 a piece for the day. The product is going to be there waiting for us. This is a super easy job because we always just show up. Matt has the product waiting for us, has all the padding waiting for us. Guys, it's so much worse than what people tell you they're actually going through on a lot of these deals. I find people that are completely non-transparent. They think they're being transparent, which is the worst part, but then they're not sharing with you all the other parts and pieces to this. Making sure you have good product, making sure it's on site, making sure you have all the padding, making sure you have any of the dividing strips, if you're doing any sort of thresholds, making sure that you're understanding, okay, are they going to just butt to the trim or are they going to then put quarter round down on top of it? Are they able to get it so close to the trim that you don't have to use quarter round? You know, are you going to have them actually flush cut underneath the doors? Guys, these are all things that matter when getting a quote. But again, you look at those numbers. If you were $5,000 over on every single project in that project, you're going to lose. That thing is not going to make sense. It's not going to make the nut that you needed to make. So what I would encourage you guys to do on this Father's Day is be honest about your self-evaluation. Look at the syllabus that I created for the course and consider the investment in yourself. Hey, Dave, you're saving $5,000 on your flooring. You spent $1,500 on the course. That's one project. In your investing career, one project in your investing career. And it paid 3x. Paid 3x. The investment that you made in yourself, learning this processes, paid you 3x. Guys, I can't begin to tell you enough. I purposely priced the product where I did. Our course, I purposely priced it where I did because I wanted to make sure that it paid you multiples and it paid you multiples back quickly. If you're active in your journey, I wanted it to pay you multiples back quickly. There is no doubt in my mind. I've talked to a couple of other course guys that are really expensive course guys. One of them was like, you need to add a 0 to it. I was like, I'm absolutely not doing that. They're like, you'll have fewer students, but you know, it'll still make the impact for them and it'll take you less time. I was like, that's just not how I'm doing it. I had to make it attainable. But I also had to make it an investment, something that you guys are going to make in yourselves. So as you guys know, my Sundays, I don't spend my time pitching product, pitching my course. But listen, if you're really serious about real estate investing, we had 2 people in the course that had never bought an investment property before. Never bought an investment property before, and they invested in themselves. And you know what their feedback was? I can't believe how much more I know right now. I can't believe it. Mark, I'm talking about you. He was one of the guys who literally said that in our closing class. I cannot begin to tell you the value that this is going to have for you. I cannot begin to tell you the value that you get out of other people in the course that are further along in their journey than you. And remember what it was like just a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they bought their first, their second, their third, their fourth. We have people in the course that have 0 units. We have people in the course that have 80 units that needed to take that next step into management. And you know how much money I'm saving them a month? A month? I'm saving them $5,000 a month. I should have charged more for the course. But guys, I want to talk about real estate today. I'm always here to answer your questions. I'm always here to have the conversation. But I want to tell you that, yeah, it's far worse than they say it is. People have no idea the gaps, the things they miss, the quality of product at the end that's not going to be there if they don't know what they're looking at, if they don't have that experience, if they're just depending on everybody else for their feelings, their thoughts. Maybe somebody rehabbed a kitchen 5 years ago that's one of their friends. Give me a break. Give me a break. Invest in yourself. Many of you went to college. What was college? That was an investment in you, right? How much did you spend on that? 85% of the people that go to college don't even use the degree that they got. That's all I'm saying. So let's jump into it. Let's start talking through this stuff because we got things to talk about. I want to hear how you guys' week was, what you guys are doing. Dividend Dave, thank you very much for the super chat. The amount I save shopping around will be used for super chats. Well done, Dave. Happy Father's Day. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that to you as well. RI Stoners, happy Father's Day. Thank you very much. Hello, Matt and everyone. From Sam Farho, Wealth Building Journey. Thank you, Chester. Good morning. Sam Farho, happy Father's Day. Thank you, sir. Laura Samaniego. Good morning, everyone. Happy Father's Day. Thank you, Laura. Rob, wait, Dave's on time. I know, right? We should all buy lottery tickets. True story. Great point, Rob. Great point. Yeah. Yeah. Something is definitely up with his clocks or something. Ninja Vanis 240 24/7. Good morning. Cash flow. It's definitely kissing a lot of frogs at the moment. Yeah, Johnny Cash flow. I get it, man. I get it. I think, and there's ways around that. There's some secrets that we teach in the course. Essentially evaluation of some of these guys. How to understand, making sure that there's some sort of a contract in place. We don't provide a contract only because every state law is different. But if you just have a general, hey, here's what we agreed to the cost being, here's what we agreed to the dates and times being, and if it's not completed by this date, then there's going to be some sort of financial penalty. Usually they won't sign on for that. If they're bad, they won't sign on for that. If they're really good, they're like, yeah, I know what my crew is. I know what we're capable of. It's not going to be a problem. So, and again, it's one of those things where you still have to not hold them hostage. If they send you something and say, hey, we're supposed to have material here on Monday, it's not here, they can come back on you. They can come back on you and say that parts of the contract's not null and void because you didn't have the material there when I needed it there to do the work. So recognize that good contracts usually help start good relationships when it comes to contractors. And at the very least, it shows a meeting of the minds, what each other's expectation is of each other, because you'll have a payment schedule in there. And it usually is, if I'm buying material, I say, I'll have material on site. Here's the material that I will have on site. And that I'll pay after this piece is done. And then after this piece is done. And then after this piece is done. Usually for rough, we'll do after rough inspection. So electricians have rough inspection. Plumbers have rough inspection. Who else? Plumbers, electricians, really that's the rough. Framing is also rough. And then roof is usually crews. And so they pull the permit and then they go get the permit and then the inspector inspects it, checks it off and says, yep, it's good. And then we write that check. But that's what you need to be able to do is you need to be able to write the check as soon as they finish. And you need to tell them the expectation as soon as the inspector gets there and signs off, done. Because that means you're not going to have to go back and chase them if something wasn't done to the way the way it wanted to be done. Make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I believe that should make sense. Yes, Walt Journey, happy Father's Day to all the dads. I agree. BuzzTune, happy Father's Day. Thank you very much. Santi, hey Santi, good to have you back. It's project management. Learn it, live it, love it. True story, Wealth Building Journey. True story, Chester. It is project management. And you know what? There are so many companies out there that charge tens of thousands of dollars, like Six Sigma, right? Learning their craft and understanding how to do projects and manage projects and how to, too heavy. Might be worth it for a massive corporation on projects that are supposed to take, 12 to 24 months. If you've done something a number of times and created certain processes and procedures around it, you're likely going to be fine. But that's what I did for doing construction projects. A part of the course is talking to code enforcement. Here's how you talk to them. Here's how you send them letters, or emails, and making sure that you meet them on site or you have a representative meeting them on site. It's all there. It's 9.5 hours of 22 years of experience. It's all there. Let's see. Good morning, Mandy W. Good morning. Devil's in the details. Absolutely. I got quoted a lot of go away prices the last year by busy contractors. That's exactly right. Rob picks up on it exactly right. If you get some obnoxious number, it's called a go away price. They just want you to go away. They don't really want to do the work, and they'll do the work if you pay them a fortune, but they're not generally interested in doing the work. However, things are starting to slow down. We're definitely seeing that. I talked to some of my guys that own big companies. And they are seeing about a 10 to 15% drop in their other vendors that they're talking to. A couple of my guys are just rock stars. And so when things slow down for everybody else, they speed up for them because usually they're taking some of that business. But they've seen a 10 to 15% drop. They haven't started to see a real price drop in a lot of the materials, but they're starting to hear that there's stuff sitting at distribution centers. And that means that they'll start lowering the extremely aggressive prices. There's no reason to lower them if people are still buying them and they still have to wait for orders to come into stock. But that's what continues to shift in the market. Let's see. Dividend Dave, most of the cost is in labor because they get a discount on the materials. Exactly. That's perfect. And the discounted materials. So that's one of the things you guys need to consider. You know, for us, and this is one of the things we talk about in the course, I set up a trust. That trust gives me an EIN number. That EIN number is what I use to get contracts with lumber yards, flooring companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what your vendor did? Guess what your guy doing the work did? You know what he did? It's really easy. He opened up a business. He got an EIN number. He gave it to them and filled out some paperwork. That's it. That's it. That's the magic. You know, that's the magic. Now, how you do that, the structure you set up, that's all to do with your CPA. Because again, how I did it absolutely might not fit you and might not be a good fit for you and might not be a good fit for your state, etc. But how we did it, I get that discount on the product. I don't want to pay 15% for what? Now, I'm not unfair. When the guys go to measure everything off, either I ask them, I say, hey, I'll measure and order the stuff. However, if you want to measure, you can, and I will pay you for your time to measure. But I can tell you, paying that person time to measure and then send me the measurements, it's usually 2 or 3 hours. Hops, max, it's 2 or 3 hours to put it all together and then send it to me. So I'll pay them, 2-3 hours worth of work. Might be $100-$150. But then but the discount that I get on product, yeah, I just bought $29,000 worth of windows, 29 grand. You know what the retail price of those windows were? 35,000. Why would I want to give that guy $6,000 to place that order when he's got to measure anyway, and I'll pay him to measure? And why would I want him fronting that money? I don't want him fronting that money. I'll pay the money. Thank you very much. I'll put it on a credit card for me. I'll put it on a credit card and I'll pay it off at the end of the month. Then I get the points. Kind of works. And all of those big lumber yards, they don't have a surcharge for taking a credit card. They expect that it's part of business. So again, these are ways that you keep more money in your pocket. I've managed projects when I had fewer units. I managed projects for some people and I saved them far more than what the cost of me was. Saved them far more than what the cost of me was. They were ecstatic. And I was like, yeah, I could build a business around that, but that business doesn't work unless I'm working it. And I don't want to work that business. I want to do that only for myself. So now I only do it for myself and teach it in the course. Let's see. Devil's in the details. You know it. Yep. You know it. Mortgage company in South Florida booming. Yeah, there's a lot of areas that are still booming. That median minus stuff, some of the move up stuff, some of the luxury stuff, but the median minus, median price housing and lower in that area, in any area, I have not seen any of it come down. I've seen it go up. That's what's crazy. A majority of transactions are happening at the median price and minus. And that's where I said it was going to happen. Because I said move up buyers were largely going to disappear. Luxury buyers were going to largely disappear. they have. And so those bigger numbers that create transactions, they don't average the price with the lower ones. It's a transaction that's gone. That means that if you do 100 transactions and 50 of them used to be above the median, that's what created the number in the middle, median. However, if you lose 20 out of 30 of the move-up buyers and 10 out of 20 of the luxury buyers, what happens? All those other transactions that are still happening at current median price and lower, that's what pulls down the median price. That's why my call is right. That's why you saw median price housing down 9.4% in one quarter. And people are like, crash, crash, crash. Nope, it's not. It's not. It's the lack of transactions on given assets that are being measured that are now no longer occurring, thus making all of the other transactions that are happening, creating a lower mean. Hopefully I explained that well. It made sense to me, and I'm a ninth grade dropout. But it made sense to me because I said it. So there you go. Bobby Simpson, Lumberjack Landlord. Hey, Bobby Simpson, got your course? I saw. I'm super excited to have you in the course. Considering the boot camp, but do you know what day of the week and time that they will be on Pacific Standard Time? That's a great question. So we're going to put out in a poll to there's only, I think there's only 3 spots left. What we do is we put a poll out and say, here are the 3 times that we're considering. We go with the majority there of the people that pick a given time. We pick the one that goes with the majority, and we do one of 2 things. Well, we do the course at that time where the majority lies, or where the majority is. And then we record every single one so you can participate still in watching the recordings. We also give you access to the previous boot camps, not usually something people do, but you get access to all boot camp stuff, which gives you access to not only the stuff that we're going to create, but also the 27 hours of content, student content that we created with students live, them asking me questions, 27 hours. And then I spent an absolute, hopefully my editing team isn't watching, ass load of money with them to have them edit everything and make sure that they bookmarked every single conversation and what was being covered. There's a ton of value there. Now, if for some reason you aren't able to make that time that we select for the boot camp this time, then when the next session starts up, we purposefully pick a different time. That way, any of the people, so that's what we're doing for this one. We had 3 carryover from the first boot camp where they just couldn't make that time. And so they still had access to all the recordings. They could still post questions as they had questions. But we gave them free entrance into this boot camp, which is going to be scheduled at a different time. Hopefully that answers the question. Because yes, we do have a number of students West Coast for sure. Shawnee Wendy God is amazing. Good morning. Good morning, Shawn and Wendy. Oh, Josh Burdick, thanks so much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Josh Burdick, I have a house where the floor plan is a loop. I want to put LVP without transitions. Yep. Have you had issues with LVP going around and connecting back to itself in a loop? No. So long as you can square it off, no issue. Nope. In fact, we've had a number of places that we've done. So the loop is not as hard, believe it or not, as one solid floor throughout an entire apartment where you're doing, we just did one. In fact, I think I posted it on Instagram. If I didn't, I will. Instagram, Lumberjack Landlord, Instagram. And thank you to all my new subscribers. I mean, we just absolutely blew up the last few weeks. It was awesome. We did a few post boosts. And it was just awesome. It was awesome. Really appreciate you guys following, but I covered the pictures in there and really what that looks like. Really what that looks like is imagine walking into a living room. So we had one where it was living room, but then the kitchen was off here to the left. And then you had a small jog with like a doorway here that went into the bathroom. And then that went into a back bedroom. And then that went into another bedroom off in this direction. We didn't have one threshold. Not one. So if guys are probably what's called laying the field, they have their starting pieces and then they lay it out from there. One of the tips is the more doors that you walk into where it's going this way as opposed to this way when you're walking in a door, that makes the apartment feel better. It gives an optical illusion because you have longer flanks and runs and planks. So typically when you walk into a unit, when you walk into a doorway, ideally the flooring is going this way, not this way. But yeah, we did that entire unit. Takes a little bit longer. It definitely is a little bit of a higher skill, but it looks beautiful. Let's see. Did I do a dad joke without knowing it? Yeah, I did, but that's okay. I like the dad jokes. I'm a dad. Smash the like button for Fire. Janitor on fire. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Your course is paying me in dividend Daves projects and in strategy. Now that is a dad joke. Get the systems right with your first unit, make those mistakes and learn. Then you'll have a model for success moving forward. That's exactly right. You're going to make mistakes. The job of the course is to drastically reduce the cost of those mistakes and the number of mistakes that you make. But there's a lot of systems and processes that we give you. That's the course. And documentation that we give you of, hey, this is the right process. These are the right events. This is the right cadence, those types of things. And then if you feel like something's going sideways, guess what? You pop a question in there. It's kind of how it goes. You pop a question, you post a question in the chat. That's what's really cool is it's not a Facebook group. This is its own entity. This is its own chat group. And there's one big one for the course. And there's another big one specific for the folks that are in the boot camp. The reason that we separated them was because the folks that are in the boot camp, they're doing that much more. Like they weren't just doing the course, they've done the course, but now they're spending 2 hours a week working with me in that time, understanding their project better, understanding why the contractor said this, understanding why they're being given a hard time by the contractor, understanding why what they're asking for isn't quite possible or is, and then it just might be a contractor problem, or it just might be an ability to articulate the issue problem. That's where the value comes in. So yeah, Josh Burdick connecting on a loop, not a problem. The difference between non-financial education and financial education is massive. It truly is. It's the same thing with the skills of, running a project for a house. There's a lot of states where, if you hire a GC, they want 10% of the cost of the project. Or if it's a smaller project, they want even more. I tallied it up, I think a year ago, a year and a half ago, something like that, on what it would have cost me to hire GCs to do all those projects. Kid you not, literally $500,600,000 is what I would have spent on GCs. $500,000 to 600K. Nope. Nope. Won't do it. Because it's managing that process. It's managing the process. And knowing what you're doing when they show you something, right? I know. And this is what I was talking about. It's even worse than they say it is. Contractor shows you something. You're like, yep. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. You don't ask, okay, well, why can't we do it the original way? Okay. And so how does that impact us? Okay. And does that stop me from anything that I'm going to be doing in the future? Okay. And well, does that impact or affect this? A lot of contractors will recommend the way to do it based on what's easier for them, not what costs less money. Or certainly not what comes out looking the best. That can be a problem. That's why some of these kitchen design places, holy Lord, I look at some of those designs and I'm like, that is such a garbage design. All you did there was try and stuff as many cabinets in the space as you possibly could. It's unrealistic. Waterfall granite countertops, lazy Susans, lowers and uppers. Like, what the crap is going on? Because I can tell you, why? Or farmhouse sink bases that are meant to take a farmhouse sink. No. Do you know that we looked at it? We looked at it yesterday. We finally got our design software. They want $1,400 for that base when I can mock a base for about $350. 1,400 versus 350. This is why I'm really good at what I do. That's why I'm elite. $1,100. We'll call it 1,000. We'll be generous. It's $1,000. $1,000 difference in the cost of that kitchen. 1,000 based on one mistake. $1,000. If you're in the boot camp, you get access to be able to have us price out your kitchens, and we'll get them drop shipped to you. That's an offering that we wanted to have for our boot campers. I think we have 9 kitchens in design right now. And we just started this a week and a half ago because I had to do a ton of work to get a contract with a good cabinet company. And I had 2 that I was choosing from. And one of them liked the idea, but the pricing wasn't really that good. And so then the other one liked the idea and they said, here's all the hoops we're going to make you jump through. And they're both products that I've used for over a decade. And I wasn't going to go to just get a line of cabinets. I wanted to use what I was using. That way I could know what the quality of what people were getting was. Samoan Island Curl. Hi, good morning. Good to see you. Good to have you back. REI Stoner is looking forward to the course. Yep. What's your protocol on notice to vacate? Tenant is month to month and we need the unit as we are house hacking. Love that. So that really is a state by state thing. And so what you have to look at is some states require 60 days. Some states require 30 days. Some states require, really onerous things. So what I would recommend that you do is I would recommend that for your area that you're talking to somebody that does business in that town, in that county, in that state, that understands those rules. One of the things we always push is that you need to get an attorney on retainer and then just set up calls for some of these 15 and 30-minute things to make sure that you're doing it right. You don't have to have them do it. They can describe to you and say, this is the form that you want to get. This is how you want it to serve them, how you want to give it to them, that you have to leave it on their door. I've literally seen an eviction get overturned because of how they were served. Like they couldn't get the eviction to go through. They didn't get awarded the eviction and then lose it. It was how they served them and they had to start the process all over again. Boom, they lost 30 days. So every state's different. Some counties run it differently, but that's where that local flavor, that's the direction that I can point you to say, hey, here's the way we do it, but you live in a different state, different town, different county. You need to understand how they do it so you don't make that mistake, because very often people just go online and they print out a form or they read some forums online and they're like, yeah, I'll do it that way. That can cost you a ton of money. That can cost you a ton of money. So that's what I always really want to push on people hard and say, local, go make sure you're local and that you've talked to somebody that's doing it before. You need to have an attorney anyway, just in case anything ever comes up. You need to not have that be the first time that you've talked to that attorney. You have to have those professional relationships. You have to, because that's what building that team is. And so when you get that right attorney, I talk about it in the course. Preferably, they are a landlord. I want them to be a landlord. Preferably, they wrote their own lease for their own properties. Preferably, they are ones that represent themselves in landlord evictions or in tenant evictions. I want them to have all 3 of those pieces of experience, and I want them to know me, have a retainer from me. If they have that, what's the likelihood I'm going to get a call back? Very high, because I'm already a client. And guess what? I get the best. So what does that mean? That means that my tenant can't hire them. Conflict of interest. So I've already blocked the top attorneys in my area because I've had a conversation with a number of them. And I have a couple of them that are on retainer. I think 3 that are on retainer. Now the money sits there, sure, but it can be sometimes $1,000. It doesn't have to be 10 grand, but I have them on retainer. I have a relationship with the firm. They can't handle somebody else's business that gets brought to them because they're on retainer. So this is why I would implore you, make sure that you've done that work, that you have that attorney. That's one of the most important elements to your team. You might not ever do an eviction. You still need to make sure that for your state, because that attorney has to stay, if they're already a landlord, they have units, they rent them out, they defend themselves in court when they actually have to get somebody evicted or if they get sued. These are really critical elements, because you know that they've done it before. They're not going to give you book advice that doesn't work in the real world. There's tons of statutes that work in the real, that are stated in the real world that don't actually apply at all in court. You'll have a really tough time winning that case. You know, like everyone always says, oh, you can plead insanity. Yeah, good luck winning that case. That's a hard one to win. Look at the percentage of cases that are won by pleading insanity. And yet so many people try and plead insanity when, guess what? Their attorneys are like, don't plead insanity. Don't. There's no way we're going to be able to prove you're insane. Stupid, yes. Insane, no. So hopefully, REI, that helps you guys, because I really think that everybody should have one of those in place. The course is phenomenal for being able to deliver to you the things that you should be doing to make sure that you're checking all your boxes. When it comes to actual applicant, or actually what that is, doing it in that given market, that's a combination usually of the course and the resource that we told you to make sure you get that person. Dion, my buddy, every time you hit the like button, an angel gets its wings. Thanks, Dion. Happy Father's Day, man. Appreciate you. Simone Girl, funny. Dion talk financial freedom. True story. Wealth building journey. Richard Gamino, great morning, Matt and everyone. Thanks, Richard. Good to have you. That's all. Lumberjack. I found a property, not pretty. Hold on 1 second. Nope. I found a property that will let me live for mostly free. Perfect. The issue is that it's way above what I'm approved for. It's a good property, a great location. What do you think? So I would be shopping for lenders. If you haven't already shopped for lenders, I would be shopping for lenders that are going to allow you to leverage the rental income that's already coming in. That's what I would be doing. That's everything that I would be doing. The other thing, because you can't qualify for a DSCR because it's going to be owner occupied. So I would be looking and shopping. I know that you've been shopping for banks, but I would definitely be looking for a local bank that you say, here it is. It's a 2 units, a 3 units, a 4 unit, whatever. And I want to be able to count rent towards this. And a lot of times they'll count 75% of the rent. It's just, do you have a mortgage company that understands that's what the process and understands how to do it? That's what I would do. Because if it's looking like you can live almost free, then that means if they only count 75%, then likely the 25% you're probably still good with. Even if the property is much more expensive, they're going to count 75% of your rental income against the purchasing of that asset. So that's what you should be looking for. Love that you found a deal like that. Now you just got to try and put it together. Deal maker, that's all. And have those conversations with banks and just lay it out for them. Or write up a very beautiful write-up, use bullet points, because people retain bullet points far greater. If you have 3 main points and then 3 points under each of the main points, or if you only have 3 main points, hey, here's the asset. Hey, here's what I'm approved for. And hey, this is my idea of what I want to do. You then put that together in an email and you actually share some of the numbers. You have a very good chance at finding somebody going, yeah, that's a deal we'll talk to you about for sure. And that's where it starts. That's where it starts. You find the willing participant. Oops. Where did that go? Damn it. There it is. Sorry. Rob, so has Dion had to call you yet on his rehab? We've already talked about his rehab. Yes. Had to? I don't think he had to. He's getting ready. He's getting a bunch of contractors in. And so we talked about 2 or 3 kind of design and usability things, but yes, I've already spoken with Dion about his project. I'm super excited for his project. Dividend Dave, I'm not paying for product service. I'm paying for a relationship. Yes, in many cases. Yep. In many cases, that's true. I think the thing that you have to recognize is I can have a great relationship with a great contractor if I'm always available. I always pay him the most. You know what I mean? Like, you can pay for the best relationships. There's guys around town that get the best guys and they pay for it. And they're like, but then their numbers don't work. You know, they look at it and they're like, Matt, how are you doing that for $4 a foot? It cost me $7 a foot. I'm awesome. And you are you, you know, in fact, hang on 1 second here. It was so awesome. It was so awesome. I had to super chat myself. It was that good of a point. I appreciate you guys indulging me. Biggest mistake that people make with contractors. In the beginning, thinking that you have a relationship you don't have. They are there to make money. They are there to provide for their families. They're there to provide for their workers. You want to make sure that they make money on your job. What you can't control is how much money they need to make on your job in order to make it good for them, because they might be really bad at running their business. It's fact. There's a lot of bad business owners out there. There's a lot of contractors out there that kind of suck. There's plenty of them, plenty of them. So what you have to do is that's where you have to really get into it with them. You give them a project and you see how they do. And then you say, hey, let them know the plan. I am a landlord. What do you think I do now? I tell them, yeah, we have 137 units in these 3 towns. We'd love to have you guys take a look at this project and give me a number. If we can agree on price, I'd love to have you guys look at that project and do that project. And if it works out great, then we'll talk about the next one. And then you have to follow that up with, to give you an idea, we have contractors that we've worked with for 18 years. 18. Plumber, 18 years. I worked with my first electrician for a decade. And in fact, what's really funny, he's come back around. And we're going to do another side project together. So this is the type of stuff that's absolutely critical to your success. Is people make the mistake thinking that because they paid the contractor that now they have relationship. They might look at you as a mark. You need to know if what they're charging you is correct. The best way to do that is A, take the Lumberjack Landlord's course and understand how they price things and understand how to evaluate, number one. Number two is multiple quotes. Getting other contractors out to see, does that mean it's going to take longer? Yeah, one guy might be 2 weeks out. One guy might be 3 days out. One guy might be 2 months out. The guy that's 2 months, hey, if you're 2 months, don't even bother. That's the Rob comment of pay me to go away price. They'll make time for you if you're paying 20% premium. I paid that to some of my guys. I have 4 projects that I needed done in a very short time frame. I said, this is what I normally pay you. I am willing to pay you for these 4 projects this, because they're going to go right to market. And they're like, yep, we'll do it for that. We'll put the other stuff that we have. We'll make your stuff the full priority and we'll put the other stuff on the side. We'll still do the other stuff on the side, but they're going to move slower. Legit. That's how that world works. They're no dummies. Now they know at the end of that, they're going to not have that work. And if I have that, and if they come back to me and go, well, we still want that rate on this new stuff. No, I'll use the other guys. If you want to get, I have other people, and that's what they know. When they go to these job sites and they see that we have other contractors, guess what they think? I better do a good job. I better get done on time. I know Matt's going to pay me, but those 2 other things better happen. Otherwise, I know he's got options. I am not a captive audience. I'm loyal and I always give them the first. I always give the team that's done the last project the first shot. Always. Always. I give them first shot. And if it's in line with what I paid last time, okay, we'll do that. We'll do that. However, if it's some way overinflated number or, 20% higher than what I expected, guys, I got to quote it. If that's your best, I just so you know, I got to quote it. I'm honest. I tell them. Let's see. Don't worry. I was going back to the top to make sure Oscar, have to go. Have a happy Father's Day, Matt, to you and all the guys on the call. Thanks so much, Oscar. You as well. Alyssa, good morning. Good to see you. G Lover, what's worse than they say it is? What's worse than they say it is what people are actually doing in their projects, how much it's actually costing them, and what their project actually looks like. Because there's things that they're missing that they don't know that they're missing, and they're not going to know that they're missing until they get to the end. And that's why at the end, they start realizing, oh man, literally almost every project is over budget. That's what's worse. Cash flow, Johnny Ramirez, most here want 50% down. Yeah, I bet they do. Not for labor. I'm not giving you 50%. And that's the conversation I had with them. Why would I pay you 50% to show up? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nope. If the other thing you can do too is you can say, hey, listen, like I think Square does escrow accounts. There's a bunch of different companies that do escrows, but you can look it up, and for a small fee, you can say, tell you what, I will put your first week's pay in an escrow account. And as soon as you're finished what you said you were going to, I'll release the escrow. That way you see that I have the cash, it's there and available to you. All I have to do is release it. And that's based on you hitting X criteria. Very fair. Very fair. We have to be a little bit protectful. They should be protected too. I get it. They need to pay. They've been stiffed. They've been stiffed plenty of times. But you can't act like the only person that's ever been stiffed in a contractor, hiring party arrangement, that the only person that's ever been stiffed is the contractor. Plenty of contractors suck. Plenty of contractors have left town. Plenty of contractors got their deposit and split. I had that with a roofer that actually had done business before. He'd done 2 roofs for me and did a great job. He came back and he's like, for that portion of the roof, I need to get $4,000. I said, I can't do 4. I said, I know that I've got somebody else that will do it for 3. I said, so I'm sorry, I just have to pick them. He came back to me the next day and said, you know what? You're a good customer. I'll do it for the 3K. But it was a roof. And so at the time, we didn't buy our roofing materials. And so he said, hey, it's a day job for us. And he goes, if you can send that over to me electronically, payment. It's like, if you can send that over to me, or no, actually check. I give him a check. So if you can give me a check for it, he goes, I'll go pick up materials. He's like, and we'll be there in 2 days and we'll get it done for you. And because he'd worked for me twice before, I was sloppy. I was lazy. Guess what he did? Didn't pick up the materials, completely jet. Disappeared. That's how I know this stuff. I've gotten burned. But I'd rather 3,000 than 30,000. Let's see. Wow, Mark, that was a very polite greeting. Are you okay? Financial firefighter. Good to see you, Mark. How would you handle a tenant after living in a unit and then requesting a renewal for 2 years, now saying that the front hillside in front of the house is not a yard or a lawn? And he is saying responsibility. The lease says he is responsible for lawn care. I mean, if grass grows, then you can tell him, if he wants to play the game of semantic, then you can say, you can draw a picture and say, this is what I expect to be taken care of and how I expect it to be taken care of. If that's not agreeable, because, if he wants to argue, well, it's not really a lawn, so it's not really grass, it's really blah, 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 or whatever, then clearly there's something going on there, but I would just look at it and say, okay, then what would you define it as? And then say, okay, but it still needs keeping up, right? Like it still needs to be trimmed back. It still needs to be mowed. It still needs to be manicured, whatever. And my expectation is that you'll do that with whatever you want to call that area. And I would literally take a picture of it and I would recognize that in the lease and say, and this is the area that's being discussed as being referred to as this. And here is the expectation that we have of how you're going to take care of it. That's what I would do. And then if he doesn't want to sign that, then bye, on to the next. Yeah, seems weird. That's definitely a weird one, Mark. Let's see. BuzzTune, loving the course, Matt. Thanks for explaining the boot camp. We'll sign up for it after. Very cool. Love that you're loving the course. I post out there 2-3 times a week. I look at all the questions. Right now it's just a very busy season that I'm trying to get past. And so in the very beginning, I did it every single night. Now I'm more like 3 nights a week, 2-3 nights a week, looking at the posts and answering back on them. But there's also groups in there of people that have taken the course that have done really well that are also answering questions as well. So it's really cool. Ninja Vanish, hit the like button. Thank you very much. Josh Burdick, have you seen some of the cabinet companies are making sink cabinet boxes out of plastic? Yeah, I have. Yeah. I mean, really? Honestly, that's going to come across as a cheap, crappy kitchen. If you guys follow me on Lumberjack Landlord, you see the pictures I post of those kitchens. Those kitchens I do for under $5,000 and they look like $1 million. Every kitchen person I talked to was like, damn, what was that? Like 10 grand? I was like, nope, half. Yep. Most of those kitchens can be installed in a couple of days. Yep. So that means if you've got, 2 guys for 8 hours making $50 an hour, then that's $400, and times 2 is $800. Add a third day or part of a third day to wrap some things up, and you're talking 2.5 days, and you're talking about $1,000 for install. So our goal is to have most of the kitchens that we look at, because we have kind of a template that we design from. We expect that we're going to be under $4,000 for that layout. And that's going to include, we design it for a fee, a $99. Because we do a 3D, we do a CAD version, and then we also do the price list associated. That way, if you want to swap something, you can swap something for the space. But we only do that for our boot camp students. That's where it's starting. That's where we're going to spend that time, is only with our boot campers, because they understand why it's designed the way it's designed, which is economics, but also with appeal to it. And they've kind of covered all that, and we want to keep it kind of small and limit access, frankly speaking, because I'm not going to be a cabinet company. I want to do this as a service to people in the boot camp, because I know that I can do it for a lot less money than other vendors and deliver quality. Let's see. It is not his responsibility. The lease says he is responsible for lawn care. Okay. Yeah, then if it's not his responsibility, then I would just take a picture of what is his responsibility. And then to make him feel comfortable, take a picture still, highlight those areas and say, it's not my expectation that you'll be taking care of these areas. However, if there were ever an issue to arise from these areas, that you would make a phone call and let me know, so I can then have it addressed. That's what I would do, Mark. I don't know how different what the laws are in the state of Hawaii to do that, but that's what I would do. Keith Hager, morning, Matt and Orats. Good morning. Bobby Simpson, can you explain getting attorney on retainer, how it works, cost and benefits? Sure. So here's the 60-second. It is, I talk about in the course, literally going to small claims court and watching the attorneys fight out landlord tenant cases. That's how I found my first attorney. I saw this guy and I was like, I want that guy. I'll take him. No joke. I'll take him. Yeah, that's the guy I want. He was awesome. He had the tenant tripping all over themselves because they were lying. He had the judge almost snickering. And and it was one after the other. So I recommend, spending some time in court. First thing I do is I call the court. I call the court clerk and ask them, what days do the most landlord tenant cases happen? I go probably a couple of times. I see the names that are on there. You can sometimes find a great guy through your network in like a meetup or something like that. But putting them on retainer means if they say, hey, my fees are $350 an hour, right? And a lot of them are 300, 350. I have a couple attorneys that are 800 an hour, 900 an hour, but we do everything we can not to use them. But most of my attorneys are, 250 to 350 an hour. And we'll give them a retainer of, let's say, $1,000 or $1,050, which we know is 3 hours worth of work. And that might be to have them prepare a letter. That might be to just have them do a 15-minute call with me to consult with me about a specific issue. But again, the three tenets are, I want to make sure, A, that they do landlord tenant court, and that's a significant part of their practice because it is a skill doing those landlord tenant types of procedures. Two is, I want to make sure that they own properties of their own, because they will more likely stay on top of all the laws, all the things that they're hearing about, all the policy changes. They'll hear about that stuff because they have their own personal vested interest, and they'll also have experience where they can also give you guidance based on what they've done, not only as an attorney, but as a landlord. And the third thing is, I want them to have their own lease, because if I hire an attorney and I'm using their lease, then when I bring to them a problem based on that lease, they should easily win that case. If my attorney lost a case when I followed their lease perfectly and he was the one who wrote it, Firesville. Like, bye. You wrote the lease. How could you not consider that? Or how is that something that you missed, right? So putting them on retainer just means basically prepaying them. And that actually means that you have a relationship with the firm. And that means that if for some reason they're one of the top attorneys in the area and your tenant calls them and says, I want to sue my landlord. And he goes, who's your landlord? And they say, oh, it's Bobby Simpson. He goes, sorry, we're already on retainer with Bobby Simpson. He's already a client of the firm's. They can't hear another word about it. That's how that goes. Bobby, let me know if that helped you, my man. Get a local lawyer. Yep. Right away. Yep. The one that I have saved my butt so much. Exactly. And that's the thing. It's the combination of all that you learn in the course and then the people that you must have on your team, and that they must be vetted now. Vet them now. Don't wait until you have a problem. I, in one instance, waited until I had a problem. And you know what that did? I was frantic. I had to find an attorney. I had to have the conversation with them. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare because at that point I had to take who I could get. I couldn't take who was best. They already have books of business. They already have people on staff. They already have relationships with clients. They service those clients first. So that's why you need to do that in the very beginning. Keith Hager, appreciate it. Hi, Ninja, Keith, others I have not said hi to yet. Good strategy, Lumberjack, retain every local lawyer and you'll win in all your cases. So I don't say everyone, but I certainly say the ones that show up on the docket the most. And I haven't done everyone. I've done the best ones. Yep. So if you're not on my list, just saying. Dividend Dave, I plead insanity all the time. It's how I got my discount on my flooring. Yes. It's awesome. I love it. Ned talks. Course is awesome. Thanks, Ned. Appreciate that. It was great having Ned in the courses. He was an absolute blast, added a lot, has a number of units. So it was great to have him in there. Gave me things to consider, different challenges he's had in his markets. But that's how we work through things. We work through those things together. And again, you know, it's an awesome opportunity for me to help people get elite at their craft by saying, here's at least a couple directions or a couple places that I would pursue. And these two ideas over here, I wouldn't do those. Those are bad ideas, no matter what market you're in. Not that Ned had those. Dividend Dave, true that, Ned. Hello, Dave. Yes. Dave. Happy Father's Day to all. Laser Focus Solutions. Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day, Matt and Dion. Thank you, Andrew P. Sam Farho, after spending a lot of time getting Section 8 tenants, I rejected their application yesterday as I didn't receive the college kids apps and didn't receive their background checks. One of the things that you all need to realize is Section 8 / housing tenants. Very, very quickly, here's what I can tell you. Sometimes they move at a snail's pace. That means you're likely going to lose another month's rent. So not only do they pay, usually in most markets, not only do they pay less money, not only do they always have a story with them, I've not found any Section 8 housing tenant that didn't have some sort of a story of how they ended up on the program. And number 3 is no real sense of urgency. It's that case in many, many cases. And that's not just necessarily the tenant. It can also be the housing authority because they're trying to do all of these jobs with all of these other people too. Oh, but honestly, this is what I'm telling you. So they don't pay the most in most markets. They definitely take more to manage, my experience, and they definitely are slower to get things done, my experience. That's the truth. The only thing to it, though, is that in a market correction, which I still believe will happen, in a market correction, that money is there on the first every month. Diversification within the portfolio. Chester, you're very welcome for the super chat to myself. Oh my goodness, I fell behind again. Ooh, here we go. I noticed Housing Authority didn't answer my questions by email, even after tenant approved release of info, although they said they need it first. Kind of sucks. Yep. True story. True story. I called. Housing was like, oh, we need a bunch of units, blah, 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 blah. Need a bunch of units. What do? I call them. I say, I've got these 2 units available. 13 days later. Do you still have these units? Yep, I do. They're being marketed currently. I fully expect that they're going to be rented in the next couple of days. That's how long that took you. That's how long it took you. We tried one. We took a unit that we have in a building where we've got a number of units, and we tried what I call a reach for the stars number. You know what it did? We didn't get our 100 to 200 inquiries. We got 50. Of the 50 that we got 3 good ones, maybe. And the 3 good ones that we wanted, their expectation was ridiculous. We're like, so is this the first one you looked at? Yes. It was less expensive than all the other ones we looked at. Okay, now I understand. They're looking at a class area, A class product. This is a B class area with a B class product. Yep. So I wanted to reach for the stars number. We gave it a shot. Cool. And if we don't get somebody qualified in the next couple of days, like that's really good, that understands this, again, it's a reach for the stars number. We'll do about a 10% reduction in the rent, which is still more than what we get from everybody else. So the rent didn't go down. We just try to reach for the stars number, we're testing the market. We're doing market analysis, trying to understand, is that where this market is at this point? Anywho. Keith Hager, yes, multiple quotes. Jordan Harmon, hit the like button, show your support. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. Lars, happy Father's Day, everyone. Thanks. You as well, Lars, if you are a dad. Go love yourself. I like that. Hey, Matt, for one of my units, there is a water leak into the basement a lot of the time when they take a shower. Okay. Hardboard was installed, silicone applied around the tub, but still leaks. It could be you're going to have to start tearing stuff apart. The only way to do it. Usually it's going to be, what I would do is I would ask for 2 people to go. I would have one person up there turning it on and running the shower. I would have another person going up there, or when they're up there, changing and basically talking to each other on your phones. Hey, run the shower. Okay, run that for 4 or 5 minutes, see what happens. Then I would try it. Okay, now put the tub spout on and run it purely in the tub. Okay. And again, seeing if you're getting a leak at any of the times. Then the third thing I would do is I would run it in the tub. And I would then fill up the tub with like a foot of water. That's the third thing I would do. And then the fourth thing I would do is I would literally, I know it's going to bother you, but I would literally fill a bucket with a few inches of water, and I would literally just pour it on the floor right there next to the tub and see if you're losing it down the seam. So you're losing water from either the supply lines that go up into the wall that are going into the mixing valve, or you're losing it, on the seam on the floor, Or you could have had your your tub drain. There's a cover, a metal cover that goes on there, kind of like a strainer. It looks like a strainer. You could be losing it around that because water could be overfilling the tub and maybe that gasket got twisted. Or it could also be that, maybe when they applied some sort of putty, that the putty has eaten away. That could be it. And then the other thing you can do too is if it's got one of those movable heads, or even you could do the same thing with the bucket, just run the water across the base of the tub where it is, right where the tile meets the base of the tub. If you do have tile that meets the base of the tub, you try all 5 or 6 of those, and I bet you find your solution. You find exactly what's causing it, and then you know what you need to repair. Because it could be where it's connecting into the mixing valve. It could be where it's connecting into the tub. It could be drain. Usually if it's happening only when they take a shower, or use the shower, it's usually not a supply line that's going into the mixing valve because that's pressurized. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you guys. Just made a note to myself. Let me know if that helps you. Go love yourself. Goalless. Michelle Meyer, happy Father's Day, gents. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate that. I've heard you talk about accountants and how important they are for taxes. Yep. How do you find one that invests and knows the business? Great question, REI. I actually bring one to my channel. Bob Langworthy invests, and he is an EA, and he owns an accounting firm, an enrolled agent. So he has to do continuing education every single year with the federal government. And he is absolutely spectacular. So Bob Langworthy, I've recommended a ton of people to him. Every single person says the same. Game changer. Game changer. He's the best. I'm almost positive he's done stuff in your state. But that's one of the things that I asked them. So if I'm looking for a CPA, or if I'm looking for an enrolled agent, because an enrolled agent isn't a tax attorney, but they can represent you in a tax dispute. So I want that kind of full service. So I have an EA who owns a CPA firm. That way, if I ever were to get audited, he can handle my case for me, and he's intimately familiar with my case. I don't have to skill him up, right? He knows all my stuff. He's the one who basically, when I would give all the information to, he's the one who provided me my return back. So if they cite something, he's not going to spend hours and hours and hours saying, well, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, and I got to do a bunch of research. He would say, well, that's the way I set it up. I set it up this way, and it's in accordance with this statute. That's why I use him. And so he's amazing. So I would recommend him. If you're looking for somebody on your own where you don't want to use a Bob Langworthy, have your list of questions ready. That's all. You have to call the CPA firms and say, I'm looking for a CPA very specifically, or an EA very specifically. I am looking for this type of person, and I want somebody that already owns property, that is a landlord, that also does this, that is an EA or is a CPA, an active CPA. Those are part of the interview questions that you would use to voir dire the witness. I think that's the right word. I'm a 9th grade dropout if not. Well, I'm still a 9th grade dropout, but if I got that word wrong, I might have gotten that word wrong. I might have gotten it right though. Panatha for life. Do you ever work with DSCR lenders like Kiavi, Mofin, Civic, Lima One, etc.? Yes. So I've had a number of conversations with Lima One. I've had not Mofin and not Kiavi. I've done deals with Steve Dow from Velocity Mortgage. And I've talked to the Convoy guys, or guy. I talked to one of them and I can't remember which. I know it's awful. Whatever. It's the way it goes. Aldo Mendoza. Thanks for all your help, Matt. Happy Father's Day. Aldo, you're very welcome. My pleasure. Financial. Sorry, I meant he is saying not his responsibility. Lee says he is responsible. He lived there for a year, just renewed for 2 years. Now he's saying it's not a lawn. Yeah, well, then the only thing to do at that point is give him notice. Like, he knew that was the lawn space, right? And he knew that it was his responsibility to take care of it. So your option is to attempt to evict him or post a letter. This is one of the things where it's very state specific. So that's where I would use up a dial a friend or dial an attorney and say, hey, I need to set a 15-minute appointment to talk to you about this one issue. So I understand that I'm pursuing it correctly, because if it does get heavy and I need to give it back to you, you at least know what you told me to do. And I followed that to the T and I did that. Because I would have an attorney if it's in dispute already, I would talk to an attorney and have them give you the idea of this is how I would pursue it. Then I would ask them if it's okay that I reference you and say, please, we are looking to bring this to resolution by this time and date. If not, you will be hearing from my attorney, and then just make sure that the attorney follows that up. That's what you have to do. But that's what I would do in your shoes. BuzzTune, for large trees on the property, do you recommend cutting them down to stumps in terms of growth and damaging water lines? I don't make a blanket recommendation. I don't make a blanket recommendation for trees. The only thing that I would tell you is if they are trees and they're dead. If they're dead, you're liable, because you know that the tree was dead. It looks dead, which means that branches fall off and heavy snowstorms, things snap. And so things that are dangerous, things that are over parking cars or that are dead, yes, absolutely. If it's an alive tree, if you look in the course and you look at a ton of my videos, I talk about how you absolutely should have your sewer line scoped when you do an inspection on a house. You have to have your sewer line scoped. When you do that, there's this little tiny fine tree roots that actually will grow into these pipes because they're seeking out water. And a lot of times they're able to get into these pipes in, either A, little micro fractures, or B, where pipes connect to each other in the flanges. And so what you can actually see is it's called skirting. And it becomes very, very thick because they're very, very tiny and they're reaching for water, because obviously roots reach for water. What you'll see is that in these older pipes, it will start to fill up the space and then become clogged because it becomes very, very thick. And then number one still usually are okay, but when you start flushing number twos, then the skirting can become a problem, but it becomes very, very thick. And so what you can do is you can actually, one of the ways to do this is we will hire the company usually that scoped the line. We'll hire them to come in and what's called auger the line. So they'll feed their line down into the sewer line, and they'll use an auger tip cutting tip that will actually circulate inside the pipe, and it will actually cut those tree skirts off. Then what we do is we actually then fill up all of the tubs and sinks inside the house. And then we also we'll also inject water in there as well from, maybe a clean out. And then we will do a whoosh of all that water, filling the pipe, flowing all the way down. And that's usually enough to then push the skirts into what's called the chimney, which is where a bunch of these water pipes then intersect into the road. Because sometimes you're not going to get the thing back actually on the cleaning bit. But that's the thing that when you do that in the inspection, you want to know, are my tree roots already getting into that? The thing to recognize about most tree systems is that what it looks like above the ground is also what it looks like below the ground. So I'm not one to preemptively just start ripping trees out. It's really a case-by-case scenario. If it's dead, then it's a liability. I want to get rid of it. We had a tree that wasn't dead. You couldn't tell it was dead or diseased, and massive heavy snowstorm and broke power lines, broke telephone poles. We had one tree limb come literally down and crush 3 cars, totaled 3 cars. They didn't call me. They didn't need to, because I couldn't do anything about it. I don't have insurance to cover their car, and that's their property. They have to have insurance for that. But for me, I still have insurance as fire policy, because if it had knocked a wire line down, caused a fire at my house or at my building, then that would have been a problem. So hopefully that answers the question for you. Golly, Bobby Simpson, thanks for the super chat. I just lost my place again. Golly. Oh, here we go. Bought a house. Oh, I'm sorry there. Explained the retaining an attorney very well. Awesome. Very good, Bobby. That's fantastic. Thank you for the super chat. Jordan Harmon. Bought a house with 2 driveways and city inspector made me remove a second driveway. It was too close to the corner. They didn't even know it was there for the last 20 years. Yeah, before I'm removing anything, I'm having conversations because that cost money to put in and was expensive. It was probably put in for some sort of a reason. He can make you remove it if no permit was ever pulled, but there are in many cities a grandfathering thing where if it's not stopped in X amount of time, blah, blah, blah. So for me, if an inspector said that to me, I would say, okay, I need to understand why you're making me remove that. And I would just say, I'm not trying to be combative. I just need to know because it's going to cost me a lot of money to do that. And I know you don't care about the money, but I need to understand why. What is it impacting that I need to spend thousands of dollars having it removed? That's the conversation. That's usually where it starts for me. Guys, you don't know what you don't know in real estate investing. Lumberjack's course gives you the know and the how to prepare for the unknowns. Thanks, Dividend Dave. I think so. I mean, here's the thing. I learned the lesson times hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right this second, I have $700,000 in projects going on. 700,000 in projects. And the crazy thing is, if this week goes well, I'm going to have the biggest project I've ever done, which I can't wait to share with you guys. I hope it works out, but we'll see. R6, how do you handle lawn care for your rentals? What's the best way to find good prices? Thanks. Here's how I handle it. You have to check and see, excuse me, if this is legal in your state. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but I don't know because I only know how my state works. We hire a 1099 and basically put him under contract to do all the lawns. And we pay him, we figure out what the lawns take to do the way that we want them to. And then we agree on that fee. And then if we add another property, we add on to that fee. Sometimes they say, well, you know what? I'll do it for a range because sometimes it's going to be worse than others. Sometimes it's going to be a problem I need to fix more than others. And we always just say, yeah, sure. Then fine. We're in that fee range. That's how we have it set up. But I don't use a professional company. I use a 1099 employee type of 1099 contractor, not an employee, a 1099 contractor. Because we have so many lawns, we have so many small lawns. I have 44, 45, I don't know, 44, 45 lawns, something like that. 50 buildings, 45 lawns, or 42 lawns, something like that. And 2 or 3 of them are huge. And then the rest of them are postage stamps. You know, I literally have 3 buildings that have a lawn that is 15 feet by 35 feet. It takes more time to get the gear out of the truck than it does to actually do the lawn. So, but that's how I do it. And we agree on what that rate's going to be. And a lot of times, you know, so that keeps my costs way down, you know, because if I had brought them out to do just that lawn, they're going to charge me $40, but because I have 3 other lawns on that street, they're able to charge me 50 and be happy for those 3 lawns because they're postage stamp lawns. So that's how I do it. That's how I do it. I also, because we don't want a lot of times what we'll do is we'll hire somebody that college age, you know, because they're looking for the work, they want the work. And we have a lot of friends with kids that are that age. And so we had 1 guy for 2 years. We had another guy for 2 years. We had another guy for a year and then another one for a year. And then one that started this season and some things shifted. And so we basically got a new person to do them. So yeah, and that's worked out. It's worked out great. Paul Kastner, R6, make them buy their own mower and deal with it themselves. You can. You're going to pay more. You're definitely going to pay more. And for me and for my take, I prefer the electric systems. I don't want the gas being toted around and all the other stuff, or somebody leaving a gas tank at some place and, some kid being funny with it, and then it's like, cause it's not the matter of if I'm liable or not. If the lawnmower guy did that, they can still sue me. They can still come after me. And that means I have to fight it, which means I have to spend money. So most companies or most people, and again, you're not going to find some college age kid that's going to go out and buy all of his own equipment. So there you go. So I buy all the equipment, and then all I have to worry about is making sure it's ready for him at the beginning of the season. And if there's something that happens along the way, we have a replacement ready to go. And I rather do that because it pays for itself 5 times over in the course of the summertime. REI owners, what advice do you have going through our first inspection? Ask lots of questions. Yep, ask lots of questions. Make sure you understand the definition of is. Don't let them fly through the inspection and act like they've done their job because they were there for an hour and a half. If you want to keep them there for 3 hours, you do it. You're paying for it. You're paying for it. Ask questions. Ask questions like, do you have any concerns about that? Okay. How would that impact us? Yep. If you ask them a cost question, if you listen in the course, I tell you to get somebody that has construction experience. You're probably not going to get that in a lot of places. And a lot of people forget to ask that stuff as part of the process. And then you'll likely get somebody that passed some course or for 2 weeks, or what you do is you make sure that you get the inspection early enough in the process where if he cites that there's an issue, you then get a couple tradesmen to come and look at it to give you an actual professional's opinion. For me, on a lot of my stuff, I'll walk it and I'll just tell my plumber, hey, I need you there for an hour. I need you there for I pay them for an hour of their time to stop by and take a look on top of the inspection report. The reason why I do that is because I still need the inspection report, and my plumber might not have time to fill out paperwork and create a report that says, hey, this is a problem. So there's a bunch of different ways that I've done it. It really depends on people's availability. Ophir. Good to see you, Ophir. Thank you for your time, Matt. I have an out-of-state property. Okay. I noticed that I got a bill for plumbing from a handyman that my PM used. Interesting. The bill was $365, but I just noticed that I was charged $460 by my PM. Is this an extra charge that they take? It seems like a lot. Yes. Yes, it does seem like that. So, Ophir, I am so happy you are in the course. What I would do is, if you haven't already, I would call and I would ask, or I would send them an email and say, I would like to understand why the 465 is, or the 365 was 460. I'd like to understand that. They might either A, say, oh, that was actually an error on our part. They might actually say, well, we mark up services 25%. Could be, but you need to understand why that is and know and put them on notice that you're paying attention. This is one of the biggest ways that people get got by property managers is that they take it for, well, that's just what it costs. No, sorry. You're spending my money. That's not just what it costs. I need to know why you did what you did the way you did it. Yeah, sorry. That's going to have to happen. Yep. And then you can usually even get copies of the notes that they took on the problem. And you can say, I'd like to see a copy of the notes. Then look at the date that it was updated. I mean, I go surgical on PMs because I've seen them lie so many times. They just want to do what's more convenient for them. They get a big fat fee for doing nothing. And then they act annoyed when something happens, which is what they're there to take care of. And then they want to upcharge you based on a plumber doing the job at 360 or 365. And now they want to charge you 460 just because the work was done. No. You got your piece when you got your fee. You don't get to mark up their time and their hours. So I would want you to make sure, Ophir, that you're understanding what that is. I would do it in email because I would want written proof if in case it needs to proceed the next step. That is a really good catch. Congratulations, Ophir. That's well done. Dividend Dave, I removed like 5 trees from my property since I got it. It's not fun except for when they fall down. Yeah, that I know it's true. That shit's awesome. I agree with you. Buzz time. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate the super chat, Buzz time. Ned Talks. Oh, hi, Mrs. Ned Talks. What is your experience with wood beetles? How do you prevent against or treating for an active infestation? So wood beetles, we don't have up here, but I do have a little bit of third-party experience with them. I would contact 2 or 3 different people that list wood beetles as what they specialize in. I would look for those contractors on Facebook. I would look for them on Craigslist. I would call a bunch of them. I would try and get a referral if that's a common issue known in your area. I would try and get a referral from somebody else from your network. And then I would talk to them about what the remediation plan would be. That's what I would do. And understanding, okay, well, if we find this, then this, if we find this, then that, if we find this and that, then XYZ. That's what you need to know kind of on any of those issues, because obviously if it's active, then you need to treat. If it's not active, then you need to understand why it stopped becoming active and get in there and then do whatever repair is needed to do the repairs. Paul Kastner, Dividend Dave. Then you can burn them up, heat, or chip them for landscaping. Yep, you can. I mean, depends. Like there's a lot of trees that are kind of useless for landscaping, but yeah, it depends. It depends. Again, it depends on what the company wants to do that I hired to do the work. There's sometimes where they're just like, yep, this is what we're going to charge you. And I was like, okay, what if I took this part off? And they're like, yeah, we'll take off $300. I'm like, okay, forget it. Put that back in. Or they're like, that'll be $1,300. I'm like, okay, I'll do that part then. Because I know that I can get one of my 1099s. I can call them up and say, hey, this is what I want you to do. He'll be like, all right, that's a day's work. And it's $400, or $350, Do I also scope septic? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As any part of any inspection, I want to know what's going on with that septic tank. Absolutely. I want to know. I want to know the last time it was pumped, because I want the guy looking at it to say, this thing looks like it hasn't been pumped in 15 years. Or yeah, it looks like it was pumped 4 months ago and it's already kind of full again. You've got a backflow issue. It's likelihood your field is failing. Because you have a tank and then usually you have a stone and pipe. And so you want to make sure that field is inspected. You want to make sure that there's no saturation or draining issues there, because a septic will cost you, depending on where you are, it can cost you 12, 15, 18,000 bucks for a septic. Septics can be usually in the teens. Yep. Or make one freakishly big Frankenstein tree. I guess you could start taping things together. Yep. That's true. Kip SOS. Happy Father's Day, sir. Thank you very much. Hope family is all good. Thanks, Kip. They are. We're good. We are good. I just got to spend a bunch of time with my kids this morning and my wife, obviously. Had breakfast together and then hung out playing. And then Daddy went to Livestream. All right. Give me 1 second here. Keith Hager, Matt, next week, bring all your great update products, i.e. pancakes, light plugs, USB ports, digital locks, foam sealer, flooring, etc. Yeah, let me see what I can do. It's been a while since I've done a product thing. We're trying new products and I am not a shill for products. I will only talk to you about the stuff that we use after we've used it for an amount of time and we like it and we know that it works. We tried one product. What was it? We tried one product we hated. I was just like, this thing is such a piece of crap. And I won't do a negative review. I won't do a negative one, but you guys see the positive ones. I talk about stuff like that in the course. That's not true. In the course, I tell you, I wouldn't buy these appliances. And I give you examples why. Yep. Matt Bittner. It's better if you can make lawn care a tenant responsibility. Do you mow your single family rental lawns? So I don't only own 2 single families. So I don't own them. Yep. I don't really own that many. It is better if you can make it their responsibility. The problem is that that's also something that can start a fight, you know? So for me, because a majority of ours are multifamily 2 through 12 unit stuff, or commercial. Yeah. I want to do that because I want it looking right. Bzz, bzz. Oh, that's funny. In the boot camp, the event is not about to start. We did our last boot camp last week, but apparently they didn't shut off the alert for the meeting. So there's no meeting today because we did our last boot camp last week. Sean Conley, sellers haven't provided tenant estoppels for a 4-unit building that I plan to live in house hack. Thoughts? Still, huh? Boy, I don't know. In your state, are you represented by an attorney or a closing company? Let me know the answer to that. Paul Kastner, speaking of inspections, what's the deal with asbestos and lead? In Cleveland and Cuyahoga Land Bank is demolishing houses nicer than the one I live in. Don't they have to abate them first? Hopefully my face tells you everything you need to know about that. Ophir, thanks, Matt. I will email the PM like you suggested and follow up with a phone call. I'm learning from your course. Yeah, love that. Love that. Fantastic. BuzzTune, as a beginner, how do you set goals for yourself? How do you know you're on the right track? So I didn't set goals for myself. Didn't. The goal wasn't get to 5, get to 10, get to 50, get to 100. That was not the goal. The goal was something that I could control because you can't control how many you do. The only thing you can control is the quality of the deals that you do. So I set my goal to say, I will only do good deals. I won't do deals that you have to go like, maybe, or that's a big, big risk. If I go wrong, I die. If I go right, massive upside. That's where you will typically find those great deals. So I didn't set goals for myself. The only, I guess, notion that I had was I always wanted to be learning. And the more you immerse yourself in information, I have people that have taken the course 3 times and know they didn't pay to take it 3 times. They've taken the modules 3 and 4 times. That is somebody that I know will be successful because they are consumers of data and information, and they are consuming it at that pace because they want to get there better and they want to get there faster. So the only goal that I had was I had to, if I was going to do a deal, it had to be a good deal. It had to be one that had some upside, but very limited downside. Now, as you get bigger, you can take bigger chances, right? And so admittedly, the next project that I'm looking at is my biggest project ever, if it comes together. So there's that element of risk there, but the reward could kind of be redonkulous. Could be huge, unbelievable. Is septic the biggest expense? Depends on the size of the house. That's a great question, Jay, when I see. It really depends on the size of the house. Yep, really depends. So septic can be 12, 15,000 bucks. So we're doing a gut rehab for the people that are in my course. I think it's next weekend, I believe. I am going to actually do a live stream, not a YouTube live stream, but one in my course for those of you in my course, where I'm going to literally do it from my phone, walking through the building. And it's an active project for me. I want you guys to see it. I want you to see the things that we're thinking about. I want you to see some of the design choices that we're making. It has been gut to the studs. So I want to walk through that with you guys and have you guys kind of see exactly what we're talking about there. That way, all of those questions, because here's an example, JMYC, on that project I'm going to show you next week. That is on town, city, water and sewer. So that is, that means that for me, I don't have to worry about looking at septics. I scoped the internal line when we bought it. And so the internal line is fine, but it goes right from the house right into the street. So no issues, concerns there. That being said, of that $12,000 to $18,000 price range for septic, here's what I can tell you. The windows were more, the siding was more, the roof was more, the kitchens will be more, the sheetrock will be more, the insulation will be less, the wiring will be more, the plumbing will be more. So pretty much every budget in that gut project is going to be more than what it would take to do a brand new septic. However, largely on a single family house or a duplex or a triplex that's on septic, unless you're doing a gut rehab, then yes, that, the roof, a heating system, if it heats the entire house, or individual heating systems. The big ones are always, septic, roof, heating systems, septic, roof, heating systems, foundation or structural issues. Those are the big, most expensive ones. Yep. The other ones are if you're actively doing a project where you're going to rip it apart. Sean Connolly, Michigan, no attorney required. No attorney required. So it's a closing company. Reach out to the closing company. And say, I haven't gotten estoppels for the tenants yet, and I can't close until I have those. And then put them on notice, because the closing company only gets paid when it closes. They've already done a bunch of work. They haven't gotten paid yet. So that's who I would put on warning next, because you want to be doing things that people that you're aligned with. They're aligned with you because they needed to close, because otherwise they don't get paid. Let me know. Bobby Simpson, since we're in your course, how will we know when the live stream is for the rehab? Do we get notified, and how? So we will be posting this week in the course. We'll be posting the actual Zoom info for you guys. And so then you can literally just add it to your calendar from that link. So you'll see the Zoom, you'll be able to add it to your calendar. And that is for everybody. That's not just boot campers. That's for everyone. I want everyone to participate in that. And we'll probably go in probably an hour and a half is what we'll limit it to. Paul Kastner, have a few shelf LLCs. Okay. Because of a recent lead legislation, thinking of becoming an inspector, I don't mind greasy palms. Yeah, Paul, honestly, you think the money is good for being a lead inspector. That's nothing. Look at what you can charge being a lead abater. And in our state, you can take the course. The course is there's a 1-day course, a 3-day course, and a 4-day course. In order to do any lead abatement work, you have to have at least one person with the 4-day on-prem. And then anybody that's doing the other stuff has to be a 3-day course participant. The 1-dayers are more like painting guys. And that sort of stuff, making sure that they know the general rules of what they can and can't do. And yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's what we're going to cover. Goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, i.e. time sensitive. In other words, give yourself a deadline. More importantly, get an accountability buddy. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that depends on what works for other people. I'm really super self-driven. I wasn't concerned with accomplishing a timeline. Like, I see some people that it took them a year to buy their first property. That's good. That's good. I want them to know that they got a good deal. I want them to really feel convicted that they know that that was a good deal, and then try and get that deal done. I don't want a time frame on it specifically, because I don't know that I'm going to find a great deal in the next 60 days. I haven't bought anything I was talking to my broker about this. I haven't closed on anything for I haven't closed on anything for 90 days. That's the longest time I haven't closed on a deal in 3 years. That should give you an idea. I'm looking for great deals. The barrier of what I will call a great deal is very high. And so this one that I'm trying to work out, I think is a great deal. It could be, like I said, biggest of my most ambitious of my journey so far. And I'm going to learn a lot. Hopefully, I don't hope I learn a lot. I hope I make a lot. I hope I don't have to learn too much. Yeah, a litigator. Yeah. Thanks for the advice. I can handle most of that and put a crew together for whatever I can. Yeah, Paul, that's the money right there, my man. That's the money right there. Yep. Yep. How much can I talk about that? I'll talk about it a little bit. The lead stuff. So last August, we were notified that somebody had a high lead test. They start work in July. And the project is about 80,000, 2 units, $80,000. Yep. 2 units, $80,000. Yeah. I will share that stuff in the course. I will not share that not in the course. I will give you all the detail, share with you all the processes, share with you, because there's grants, there are loans that you can take, there's project management as part of it, there's rehousing of the existing tenants. There is all the timing around that. There are the follow-up inspections, the wipe tests, all that stuff. JNYC, great question. How do I find one? Yep. You definitely want to be, if you're looking to get in the real estate journey, you want to find somebody that's in your local meetups is big. Local meetups is the biggest. Find investment people that are in your area, and have conversation with them. You know, it's that immersion thing, you know, understanding how did you build your portfolio? You know, people that have 2, 3, 4, 10, the guy that has 100, he can probably teach you things. The guy that has 2, he can teach you things as well. The difference is that if it's on the same topic, you're probably better off listening to the guy with 100 because he knew something about how to scale. So long as it's, you know, done on the up and up. Yeah, check REI meetups. Exactly. Yep, exactly right. Check meetups. Look at posts on Facebook. There's usually state groups for like bigger pockets. But yeah, look at REI meetups, you know, or REI or real estate investment groups on Facebook. Yep. Matt is faster at saying it than I can type. Chester, that's exactly why I do a live stream and I don't have a blog. I can say it way faster than I can type it. Yeah, that's why I don't have a blog. That's exactly right. And I'm a horrible writer. Oh, I'm horrible. I mean, they still haven't made a keyboard. Like, yeah, like it's not good. It's not good. Not good at all. All right. I got maybe like 15 more minutes. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I'm probably going to duck out at 1:30 Eastern time. So about 15 minutes from now. Got hot in my office. Must be all the equipment running. Dang it. Buzz time. Yeah, I rushed into the first one. Yep. Made many mistakes. Yep. Wish I would have learned about this community earlier, but trying to make changes for the better. That's good. That's good. BuzzTune, are you seeing that the stuff that you're seeing in the course, would that have helped you avoid a lot of the mistakes that you made with the first one that you bought? Because now I believe that you bought the course because that will help you fix things now or moving forward. But if you'd taken the course before you bought something, would that have stopped you from making some of those big missteps? I've been attempting to use Dvorak keyboard layout. Brutal. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, but yeah, it's a problem. Why do Cody and Christian not like the buy box? What is their objection to it? I heard them say on a stream the other day. I don't know. Not sure. I think the biggest difference is they believe that they can make any deal work, not based on the asset that they're buying, but based on the financing that they can get. That's just a guess, though. That's just a guess. I think that's the way I think. That's why I think the way that they think about it. You know, I don't have a buy box really per se. I have a asset type that I like that I buy, but usually I'm doing things backwards and I'm looking at what's my rent box? How much money can I get for rents in these units in the condition that they're in, or in a revised condition or upgraded condition? And then what's it going to cost me to get there? i.e. what's the debt? What's the down payment? I'm looking, how, 30-year fixed rate debt, is it above 5 units? And so I got to go commercial. And so I'm going to have a 5-year arm or a 7-year arm with an automatic reset. I'm kind of calculating backwards based on what my rents can be. Paul Kastner, BuzzTune, looked at several in the 20K range before buying my purple Barney house. Nice. Other things I looked at were stripped by crackheads or failed remodels. Everything old, but this has plumbing. Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks, Chester, for posting the course info. There is the course info. But yeah, so I think that, as people are trying to get into their journey, we had a couple people, as I said in the course, that hadn't bought anything. We had a couple people in the course that owned 1 or 2 units. We had a couple people in the course that owned, as far as the boot camp, that owned a couple duplexes. I think that there's flaws to everybody's model. Every model has flaws. I think the flaw to my model is speed. The flaw to my model is speed. 4, 3, 2, 1, when you're getting then to that quadplex and then your triplex and then your duplex and then maybe hopefully more duplexes, or you extend it out and you go more quadplexes. That's speed, because the fastest you can do it is 12 to 18 months. That's the fastest you can do it. And the thing is that most people don't know that the bank is going to want to see stuff seasoned before they start giving you credit for being a landlord. And so the biggest flaw to my strategy in acquisition is the speed by which you do it. Once you start buying investment property and not hacking it, and you're spending 20% or 25% down, obviously the course is that much more important, because you're then assessing both units and you're not going to get less expensive debt because it's not going to be owner occ. Absolutely, LL. The great thing, the GOAT king of value. Cool. Listening to past live streams, I knew I found gold. Now going through the course. Awesome. Good. Yeah, because I want perspective. Would it help somebody that's never bought anything before? The feedback that I got from the people in the boot camp, the 2 that hadn't bought anything before, they said, yeah, it was awesome. I'd never bought anything before. So I didn't know to look for this, and this. I didn't know that this is how I should talk to code enforcement because they'd never done it before. I didn't know this is how I should hire contractors. They'd never done it before. So they didn't know how to do a lot of those things. And that's a lot of what we talk about in the course. So that's good. That's good. But I'm glad. I want that feedback, because we always want to be growing and making it better, making it more applicable to more people. However, it also has to be something that I'm really good at. So I do some seller financing stuff. I'm fine. I'm functional at it. We get deals done. But I don't love seller financing on every deal. I don't. There are people that do seller financing deals that overpay for the asset. And that works so long as the market's going up. That doesn't work when you have to worry about revaluations. It doesn't work when you have to worry about, getting different debt on it. It doesn't work when there's a number of scenarios that it doesn't work. I will mildly overpay for an asset, or I will really overpay for an asset if I know exactly what my strategy is on the asset, and I don't have to depend on others to get there. Thanks, Andre. So tired? Oh, sorry, I'm boring you. It's all good. I just saw a listing in my hood. It sold and went straight to rental. Yep, I did the math, and it's costing them $200 per month. Why would an investor do that? Is there something I'm missing? Yeah, there are investors that do that. That's a negative negative cash flow asset. There are people that believe that they can put their money into an asset like that, and that eventually it will start making money. It's true, eventually it usually does, but what's the path to that, and how long do you have to write checks? There's a number of people that have gone bankrupt with that really horrible strategy. I don't like overpaying for an asset. I just don't, especially when it's going to go right to rental or something like that. I don't love it. The likelihood as a tenant going into that, the likelihood you're going to get deposit back is almost zero. They're going to find a way to keep your money. Absolutely, they are. Yeah, I mean, it just, I don't do bad deals. I don't do deals that cost me money on a monthly basis. I just don't. Yeah. Yeah. No alligators. Yeah. Mike Zuber says no alligators. Yeah. I just don't do negative cash deals. Like, why would I want to write a check to have somebody else living there? Your money is made at the time of purchase, dividend, Dave. Yeah, that can be true. It's bigger than that, only because a lot of times you're buying an asset that's undervalued. And so I want value. So I bought an asset that for $300,000 that had $2,400 a month of rent. Based on that, it loses, or would have lost. However, they were housing tenants, and they were $700 a unit under market. Well, when I made the increase, and that's just a letter to housing, guess what? Now that building makes $1,000 a month after expenses. That building makes a lot of money off a new acquisition, just a duplex. And that came because the old landlord didn't know what they were doing. She was bad at it. Fact. Look up Ja opportunity zone it. Yep. Transformation hotel to low income. Yeah, it could be. Yep. There's a lot of opportunity zones for sure. Some with good strings attached, some not. Look up, be gentle on yourselves. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Don't beat yourself up over it, but recognize if you make a mistake and just be like, okay, mental note, won't make that one again. Why do you think I now scope sewer lines? Do you think I started scoping every sewer line? Nope. How bad do you think I got? So now I scoped them. I got got. I think it was, I don't know, 10 grand, 10 grand maybe. I got. And so now I scoped them because it cost me 200 to scope them. JNYC, even with appreciation over 25 years, I calculated as just about breaking even. Yeah, I mean, those are horrible numbers. Somebody just did something stupid and dumb. Like, I don't know how they got qualified for a loan. Maybe they had a big, huge fat down payment. Maybe they bought it for cash, and they're just looking at it and saying, you know, I don't owe any debt on it. And so they're actually making money. They might be making a 10% return. Where are they going to get that? You know, because they bought it for cash. So impossible to know. Tony Carr, $9.99 for my question. Okay. Tony Carr, here I go. For my rentals in Florida, an electrician told me I should put a surge or brownout protector in the panel. I put a surge protector with brownout capabilities for $40. Any experience with this? None. Surge protector. Okay. Oh, actually, sort of. Now that I reread it. Yes, sort of. The experience is brownouts are when it's not fully blacked out, but you go out, you pop on, you pop off, or they lower and meter how much energy your house is getting. That can ruin your appliances. Big time. Up here, we just don't have those. You're either on or you're off. And a lot of houses have generators. Not a lot of houses, but a number of houses have generators, which means that they come off of the grid. And then they can get the grid up for areas that don't have the generators. But yes, I'm glad I reread it. So yes, I do have experience. Yes, they absolutely make sense if you're in one of those areas like a Florida where they're talking about maybe having some brownouts, because brownouts kill appliances. Yep. I had one landlord that I talked to that lost a number of appliances due to the brownouts, and they were like, it's not covered. It's not covered. I had to pay out of pocket and fix them. So yes, I do. Yes. Yes. I would do the brownout piece. I don't know how much that is, but I would, if I know that that's something I can expect and the utilities told me I can expect as such, I'd be protecting things. Yep. I'd be protecting things. I would also talk to your insurance company and ask them, if I put this in, does this reduce my rate at all? I would also do that because there might be some sort of a credit. You can also talk to the electric company and ask them, if I put in this thing, does that reduce my rate of electricity, or is there some sort of a rebate that I can get? I would ask that because there's money that's a lot of times set aside in that because it puts less tax on the system. So I would look at that. I would look at that. JNYC, I understand an alligator, but it's your dream home. But not if, well, yeah, because at your dream home, you're not making money, but not if someone purchase it in order to rent. Yeah. Even over 25 years, they will broke it even, and that's with appreciation. So the tough part, JMYC, is modeling the appreciation. You have no idea. If you bought it in 2020, it could have gone up 40, went up 40%, 50% in some areas. However, usually those areas are the ones that correct the hardest, the ones that go up the most, correct the hardest. And then they stay down for a while, they plateau, and then they start to see tick up over time. And that's based on whatever else is going on. I don't have anything in my calculator that talks about appreciation. I can't model it. That's telling the future. I don't even model appreciation in my rents. I don't. Now, the present. Here's what the building costs. Here's how much money it makes me. Here's how much money I can put in reserve. And here's how much money is my return. That's why all these people getting twisted into pretzels trying to figure out if a deal is going to be a good deal 5 years from now. F that. I don't have a crystal ball. I am very, very, very straightforward in how I evaluate an asset. And that is, if I buy it, how much return on my capital do I get? And do I have 30-year fixed rate debt in order to get that capital? So I know over a 5-year period, if my rents don't go up or they go up marginally, it's probably going to get eaten up by, inflation or taxes or whatever, but I still make my nut and I still have 30-year fixed rate debt. I know over a 10-year or 20-year or 30-year period, if history is any indicator, rent's going to probably be double or triple in 30 years. I'm still going to have 30-year fixed rate debt. So the taxes will go up, the expenses will go up, but the more expenses I can put on the tenant, the more that they pay those things. So that's how I'm constantly evaluating these different deals. Yeah. Computer boards cost me $900 for brownouts. There you go. There you go. Tony, but I would be calling the utility and I would be calling to see if you can get a credit, and I would be calling insurance. I'd call both of those because that might be something that they cover. That might be something that they cover. Let's see. Do you check the land for invasive plants like bamboo? Nope, I don't. Nope. SK, to get to 130 units, how did you raise capital to buy each one of the first 10 units? Which of these three sources provided most down payment? 1, appreciated equity. 2, cash flow. 3, W2. Yes, all of the above. Appreciated equity because we would buy value add assets. So we would go in and I would do a lot of the work myself. So it was just, okay, like I lived in Home Depot every weekend for a decade. The way it goes. We would shop for product and materials on Craigslist and on Facebook Marketplace. We would shop for product and materials. At the time, it wasn't Facebook Marketplace. At the time, I think it was really only Craigslist. And we would go to like Habitat for Humanity rehab stores, and we would go to secondhand stores, and that's where we would buy a lot of material. So yeah, that's W2 was certainly part of it. Because I wasn't contributing to our 401k. I was contributing to saving up to get the next building. Appreciated equity. Yes. In the beginning, we would buy it with owner occupied debt. When we would buy with that owner occupied debt, we would then do the project and rehab it, make it nice. And then when the rates were usually, they were about the same, they were kind of range bound. So we would then just refi it. We'd, basically start the 30-year journey over again. But then we would get a cash out because we could do, as an owner occupied, we found a bank that was doing 80% loan to value owner occs. So I could usually get everything that I put into the project out, or everything plus more. And then that gave me the deposit that I needed to then put it down to the next one. So yes, all of the above: appreciated equity, cash flow, and my W-2. I didn't borrow any money other than from banks. So the deposits were always mine, but I had the ability to buy with a low percentage rate down because I was occupying them as an owner occ. JMYC had asked about the invasive species. No. Oh, Dividend Dave. That's true. Thanks, Lumberjack. You're welcome. Jesse Mao, happy Father's Day. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that. Thank you for doing the streaming today. My pleasure. My pleasure. It's part of my Sunday. So the kids understood, and we're going to go do something afterwards. We had a bunch of playtime this morning. Because for those of you who don't know, I have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. I had to remember because they all just had birthdays. So my 1 turned 2 in May. My 3 turned 4 in April. And my wife, I won't say what she turned. So yeah, everybody had a birthday in the last, everybody but my son had a birthday in the last 45 days. 60 days. I don't check for bamboo. Nope, not an issue where we are. Both building journey. Thanks about the goals. I love improving. Yeah, BuzzTune, that's the key. You love the journey, right? If you fall in love with the journey and what it takes to become elite at something, you end up being elite. That's how it works. Because I was constantly, I got onto Mike Zuber's show, One Rental at a Time, because I was constantly pursuing gaining knowledge. When I started watching stuff online, Meet Kevin was the one I watched the most. Then I watched Grant Cardone a decent amount. I loved his stuff. Didn't want to buy large multifamily because I was already in the game. I already had 60, 70 units. But then I started watching Mike. Many of his strategies don't work for me because of my market, but it was still being able to talk to somebody else that does what I do in a different market with a slightly different strategy that still works great. So that's where it's like, I want to always hear other strategies because maybe there's a piece that I can steal and make my own. However, single family assets in my markets don't work. They just don't work. Oh, holy crap. I missed a whole string. My bad, guys. SK, after first 10 rental units, what's been your main source of loans? Seller financing? No. I've done 3 seller financing deals. Private financing from friends and family. I've done 2 of those. Didn't really love doing that, so I stopped. Commercial lending, yes. DSCR loans, yes, I've done some. I've done a couple, 2, 3 DSCRs, and commercial loan. Yep, commercial loan, or bank statement loans. Yeah. So the biggest source was I made a product with a bank because I'm awesome. Yeah, I know how to speak bank. That's one of the things that we talk about. I know how to speak bank. And so I worked with a bank that wanted me as a customer. And I said, this is a product that will work. And we worked on it for 2 or 3 months, worked with their underwriters, worked on getting it approved by the bank and blah, 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 blah. And then we do it. And then now I made a product. My bank worked with me to make a product that gives me what I need, which is 30-year fixed rate debt on 4 units and less. So now I have 30-year fixed rate debt on 40 units and less. That makes it really easy for me to build my business because I took care of the debt side and I didn't have to do it one off with every single person I talked to. I got it done once with the bank and I know what the premise is. I know how we do it and I know the criteria that they're looking for. So I can instantly create an opportunity based on knowing what my criteria is. Kids are having a blast upstairs. Paul Kastner, kudzu vines are the worst. Okay. Most invasive plant you can find on your property. Haven't had them up here in the Northeast. REI owners, I worked backwards like you talk about in my deal regarding the market rents and can't believe we had our first offer accepted. Feels too good to be true. Hopefully inspection goes well. So here's the thing. That is awesome. I am so super pumped for you. The thing you got to make sure that you're doing is don't fall in love with the deal yet. Don't fall in love with it because you still need a clear mind to make decisions that are in your best interest. Now, if you find a big problem, don't think that your deal's dead. Talk to your agent, have a conversation with them about, all right, we would need to see a significant part of that credit back or rate buy down or this or that or the other. Keep in mind that cash flow is king. So often you want not just a credit off the number, you might want money put into an escrow account so the project can be handled. For them, that's not a big deal because they're closing a deal and they're taking some of the proceeds from that and putting it in an account. For you, that's a big deal because you don't want to be paying $40 less on your mortgage for the next 10 years before you refi it. You'd rather have the $4,000 sitting in the account to handle the issue right when it's done. Yeah, I just dropped gold right there. And ironically, what am I, like an hour in between dropping gold here? 1236 and 136. Crazy funny. Happy belated birthdays. Thanks very much, Chester. Yeah, don't be fooled. Financial education is vastly different from normal education. Oh my word. The two could not be. I mean, here's all you need to know. There's a department around education called the Department of Education. They couldn't be more fiscally stupid. Fact. Always stay learning something new about finance. Yeah, absolutely. And about approaches, you know, do you think 10 years ago, I thought I was going to work with my bank to make a product? No freaking way. No way. I got there because they saw how I invested. They saw the returns of my portfolio. They saw that normally what they look for is a 1.2 to 1.25 global rate, which means that for every $1,000 that I have in bills that I have, you know, basically, you know, a quarter, 25% covering, you know, because they look at vacancy rates and they build in all this other stuff. Mine's over 2. Mine's like 2.1. So they're like, yeah, on paper and the numbers, this thing crushes. It's absolutely awesome. Albus, what types of loans are you using other than DSCR? So I've done some DSCR bank loans with the bank that I made a product with. Commercial loans is a large part of it. Seller financing, I've done those. So it really just depends on what the deal will let me do. I always ask for seller financing, but I'm not going to overpay 20% to get seller financing. You know, I've never done a deal being personally qualified, only closing in an LLC. Okay. Is it worth exploring non-DSCR loans? It is. Yeah, it is. The reason why it might be worth exploring DSCR loans is because for me, I rent box it. So I understand what the rents are, what they are if I redo the unit, what they are if I take it as is, understanding what money I'm putting into the deal. I'm working it backwards. The next thing that I consider is what kind of debt am I going to get on this? And does the debt from the DSCR loan make sense because the rents are so good? Does the debt on the DSCR loan kill it? Point and a half higher. That's what you can be talking about. So if it's a point or point and a half higher, I don't want to be given, that's a lot of cash margin, a point to 1.5 points. You know, you're talking about 20%. If you're at 7, you're talking a point and a half higher is now 20% more expensive. I was getting quoted on DSCRs 8.9 when I could get debt at 6.6 or 6.5. 8.9 to 6.5, that was, or 6.6, that was a 240 point spread. Now I get it because they're reselling that debt. And on top of that, they needed a point or two at closing, which is on $1 million deal is $10,000, times two, $20,000. That's just for the points on the closing. So those are all the things that you really want to look at. Is I always look at what the rent box is, what the numbers are, and then I start working it backwards to, okay, what can I get for debt right now? I can start making the calls. And if somebody says, I can get you 6.5 debt, I can get you 6.7 debt, or 7.1 debt, or DSCR debt at 8.5. I then look at all the different numbers and say, what's the best path for me here? When you don't have to be 137 units to have your bank start making product for you. That's the key. You start having conversations with them when you're, a couple dozen units, a dozen units, have the conversation with them, build relationships, build relationships, have the conversation with them, say, hey, but you're only going to get this in a small, you think I'm calling up Bank of America or Wells Fargo and going, I want to make a course with you or a product with you, a lending product with you. No, nope. They don't care. I am number 1,374,000,000. Like I'm a number. Small local banks, they're in the community, of the community, for the community. Align yourself with people that are in the community that you are, that are trying to improve the community. And you'll be surprised at how many doors open, because it doesn't have to be non-for-profit, but it does have to have an element of, what are you bringing to the equation that will make things better or is a better idea? The wealth building journey. This is why everyone needs to get Matt's course. Thanks, Chester. I appreciate it. There's a link. SK, do you pay points 1.5 to 3 when getting commercial loans? Nope. In the past, before you got your own product with the bank? Nope. Is it better to pay with higher rate with 1 year prepay without points and refi later? Oh my goodness, that's impossible to say. So SK, that's impossible to say just because it depends. I look at every deal differently. I do deals that I structure them the way that it makes most sense. A lot of people talk about BRRRR, right? A lot of people talk about BRRRRs. That's what I did in the beginning when I was a rook. That's what I did in the beginning. Now I do construction loans because I lock my rate in beforehand. I have no sensitivity to rate risk. Another thing that we teach and talk about in the course. Albus, very helpful. Thank you so much for that answer. Albus, you're very welcome. I'm glad that was helpful for you. Is Facebook Marketplace a safe place to buy appliances? Yes, it is. But not all appliances are created equal. Watch the part in the course where I talk about all appliances not being equal. And then also understand when you see it in person, the condition of it. I've bought amazing stoves for budget rentals or budget rehabs that we were doing, where I was able to buy 2 and 3 year old stoves for $50 that were 650 new. I had nothing to lose. If the thing died in 3 years, it didn't matter. I could replace it at that time with new, but I've already made a bunch of profit on my rents. So absolutely, you should be looking at Facebook Marketplace for appliances. You absolutely should. And the other thing that you should absolutely do is make sure that you have moving straps. Because if you're moving appliances with your amazing wife, you want to make sure that she's able to just put those straps right there on her arm. Then you put your hands up on the appliance, and then you guys can carry almost anything through almost any door. But measure the doorway first before you start moving appliances in. But that will absolutely help you. Wealth building. Yeah. Garbage. Yeah. Kind of. Shirley W. Where does one get paperwork for seller financing? So what I did, because of my state, it's usually something state-wise where you want to talk about what is allowed in either, essentially a mortgage or a promissory note. But I worked with an attorney to put together one. That way, anytime we go to buy any asset that they want to do seller financing on, I basically have a mortgage in place. The only thing that I need to do is change the terms, i.e. it's, based on a 30-year amortization, and this is the monthly payment and that sort of stuff. And this is the rate. That's the only thing that I do is, I had an attorney draft one up. It was about $1,000, but I had one. And that's where, if you're talking to an attorney that is a landlord, in your state, they likely already have a mortgage that they've drafted for somebody else that was a big enough mortgage, and just say, is that something I could get from you so I could read it? And then you get it for free. And then you just basically use them for the services of it, because they obviously put the mortgage together, but it's just a normal mortgage. Instead of the bank being the mortgage holder, the seller is the mortgage holder. And it creates an asset, right? And you could say, I'm not going to pay you 200 grand for the house. How a lot of people that do seller financing make it work is they say, all right, you want 200 grand for your house? They're like, yes, I do. And they're like, we'll give you 240. They're like, what? Yeah, we'll give you 240. Okay. That sounds good. And we'll give it to you at 4.5% interest. They're like, I mean, I guess a T-bill is making 4%. So that's not bad. And we'll do interest only for 10 years. So I still get my lump sum of money in 10 years. Yep, you do. Hey, Chester, with inflation, how much is that money worth, right? That money's not worth nearly what it was right now. It's kind of like the lottery winnings thing. You win $100 million. What do? They take 45 million bucks up front instead of 100 after taxes, depreciation, or inflation. When it's all said and done, that 45 million, if you're taking payments, is worth a whole lot less. If you're taking payments, you're in better position. But again, if you're taking that big lump sum, you're in better position, but you're going to watch, because over time that money gets worth less money. So then you have to put it into something that's going to appreciate faster than inflation. That was all very too economic of me. I'm watching too much Uneducated Economist. I love Simon. What can I tell you? He's absolutely fantastic. Speaking of, is like Hyder fishing or something? I think he fishes this month. Hyder's been non-existent. In order to find your location or find your particular property within your buy box. In order to find your location look at market rents first. Yeah, look at market rents in your area for the type. So in the course, JMYC, I have a full document that says, here are all the different categories that you should track in a rent box. And based on that, you will understand the exact value of what something is going to rent for based on its condition, location, all of those things. And that's how you work it backwards. BuzzTune, when you drive a new market like Vegas, yep. What are you looking for? Did you ride with Brian? Did you pay him for the day? Thank you, Chester. I appreciate that. I didn't pay him. He's a broker, so I didn't pay him. Brian and I are friends. I fired Hyder. He broke my heart. Better than Dave. Yeah, I don't pay Brian. Brian and I are friends. We talk probably talk every 4 to 6 weeks on the phone. Still shopping in that market. That market hasn't gone as I would have hoped. It went more as I expected, but less than I hoped. And so, so I continue to shop in that market. That's what I do. I continue to shop there. But yeah, I drove around with Brian for the day. When I buy there, he's my broker. And yeah, I said, take me to the places that fit this billing. And that helped me change what I was looking for. Because I changed. I was going to buy in Summerlin, and now I'm not going to buy in Summerlin. I don't care enough about status for that to matter for me. Summerlin's beautiful, but people are very proud about living in Summerlin. It's just not a fit for me, what I want to do. But that's the part of Vegas that will always have great resale from what I can see. It's a beautiful area. It really is. It's beautiful. Every 4 to 6 blocks, you have all the options that you need, because we were there for 2 weeks, and I went out driving with him for a full day. And then I went driving out by myself a couple of times after my wife and kids had gone to bed. And went out driving with my wife and my kids a couple of times during the day. It's a lot of fun. Learning a new market, kind of seeing what we wanted. What I want is a very, very hard ask. And so, yeah, when the right deal comes along, we'll pop on it. But even right now, it's like, until we're going to start spending 2 or 3 months there, it doesn't make sense. I can spend $5,000 for a really nice Airbnb and get it out of my system, and any of my mortgages are going to be 4 or 5 grand. So that right now is my best financial decision. So we'll probably buy something. We'll still buy something out there, just not yet. So that, yeah. Yep. REI Sonars work backwards. Yep. Yeah. Albus, again, you're very welcome for the answer. The rent box. Yeah. The rent box is key. Yep. And yeah, no, I didn't. So I didn't, the only reason I didn't pay BuzzTunes. So the only reason I didn't pay Brian for the day is because he will be my broker when I buy a house. I'm very cognizant of that. And my broker here doesn't need to drive me ever. In fact, I usually send him a link, or he sends me a link and is like, what do you think? That's usually how our day goes, or our deals go. But yeah, there I needed him to show me around so I could see it through his eyes. Also, so he could see it through my eyes, so we can make adjustments on what we were looking for. You know, Summerlin is less than a fit for me. There is another town that's in that area that was a better fit for me based on a few things. I wanted to be, based on a few things. So awesome. Well, I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your Father's Day. I'm going to go up and hang out with my little munchkins. I know my youngest is probably napping now, but my wife and my other 2 kids are not. So I'm going to go spend some time with them. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. As I always say, we try and create great content for you. Please make sure you hit the like button. I know if you commented, you're already subscribed. Sorry I put what's their name to sleep, but that's okay. Maybe you don't like money. I get it. Not everybody does. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And if you have any questions about the course, you can certainly put them in this video. I'll answer them. Watch the syllabus. There's no doubt in my mind it will make you better. There's just 0 doubt. And if you want, ask all the people on here that actually took the course. So I hope you guys have a fantastic week. To all the regulars, great seeing you guys as always. Fantastic questions. This show is as good as it is because of you. You guys ask great questions. And yeah, sometimes you stump me. Tony, good job with the brownout thing. I didn't know until I remembered that I knew. So congratulations with that. And you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy your week and do great deals. Take care, guys. Talk soon.